Coming up on this week's edition of AU Hoop Talk, we'll look back at the game against Colgate and ahead to the contest against Navy. Also, Athena Argyropoulos stops by to discuss her role in the athletics department and reminisce a little bit about the 10th year anniversary of the Eagles' first berth in the NCAA tournament. AU Hoop Talk with Coach Mike Brennan starts right now. Welcome into the show, Dan Lang alongside Coach Brennan. And Coach, coming off the game against Colgate, we saw a lot of the youngsters. We really want to focus today on the progression that you've seen from the freshmen. And even at a couple different points in the game, you had 4 freshmen on the floor and Saeed. Really talk about the evolution of those guys and the program.
The fact that we're in a game, playing freshmen that many minutes, that many freshmen together, I feel good, even though our record is what it is. I feel good about their progress, their growth, their development, how they're working. It's hard enough to get a freshman quality minutes without feeling like, he's going to hurt us. But when you got them all together, it makes it difficult. But I think they're doing a really good job, and I give Saeed a lot of credit for being able to, sort of maneuver and, trying to help them as much as he can. It's hard enough for him to, normally just for a guy to run a team and have a young guy out there trying to get him to do what you need him to do. But when you have 4 of them out there, it's a lot of work. But they're coming along, they're getting better. We're in that game. You're playing all these young guys and you're right there. You have a chance to win a league game, which, hopefully we can get over the hump at some point here.
What does that say about Saeed as a leader dealing with those 4 guys on the floor at the same time and kind of showing a little bit of patience?
Yeah. Well, he's been really good. In the locker room, in the huddles, in practice. He's not a real sort of vocal, demonstrative type of leader. He's obviously doing a lot, on the court, but he's not like one of these guys that's always, pointing and barking at guys. But I see him, just on the sidelines talking to these guys, trying to help them out, trying to, get them to figure some things out. He understands the game. He's obviously a very good player. So, I can trust all the things that he's telling them. He's trying to help them, and he's doing about as much as you can do.
Let's jump into some of the guys in particular, including Drew Lamont, who got his first starts in the game against Colgate. What has he really done over the last few weeks to progress to that point that you felt comfortable putting him in the role?
Right. Well, he's had much better practices. He's every freshman, sort of I don't want to say the light bulb goes completely on, but they sort of figure some things out at different times during the year. So I think when we came back, from break, I think our whole group has had really good practices, and Drew can put the ball in the hoop. Obviously you got to, score points, so he can do that. Now we got to get him to sort of understand, defending is just as important. But he's coming along in every facet. So it was sort of a toss-up between him and Marvin. But Marvin's going to play a ton too. I'm happy with, their progress and their development.
Where's Drew's basketball IQ at this point? As a high schooler, he scored over 1,000 points. You talked about how offensively he can put the ball in the hoop, and he averaged over 20 points as a senior in high school, and I think he had about 13 rebounds or so a game on average his senior year of high school. So just basketball IQ-wise, the difference between high school and then moving to the college game, where do you sort of see him right now?
He's a good passer. He understands what's happening on the court, and he can, sort of easily deliver passes for the most part. So I trust his decision making, what he sees. A lot of what we do is, based on passing and seeing and sharing the ball. So having another guy out there that can do that is crucial, because Sam had been on the perimeter. He was one of the guys on the perimeter that was sort of passing the ball and making decisions. Now we got Sam in the post, so to have Drew out there on the perimeter to be able to feed the post and throw it to guys slipping and sort of seeing the court, in addition to his ability to shoot, is obviously very helpful.
Is Sam Iorio pretty much what you thought you were going to get when, you look at what he's done of these first couple games in Patriot League play, had 20 points in the opener and then had a double-double in the game against Colgate.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to be a good player, but you never think that, you always think that guys are going to, sort of suffer through their freshman year, and but he's been, producing all year long. We've obviously, gave him the minutes, a lot like last year with Saeed and Mark. We're just throwing him into the fire. So he's been doing that since day one. I think he's getting more comfortable. He just started playing the center spot for us in this past game, and he looked real comfortable doing it. So we're going to, continue along those lines.
Stacey Becton is another player that we've seen over the last couple games, have some quality minutes. Where do you see his game?
Yeah, I wish I could play. I played him more against Colgate, but they were, sort of changing up their defenses and everything. Mm-hmm. So, to have him out there with a bunch of other young guys would have been difficult. But, he's going to be out there. He's only, he's had about 7 or 8 practices, so, he's just getting his feet wet. But he has a really good understanding of how to play. And he's coachable. He listens. He picks things up quickly. And he's fast. He's got good instincts. So, looking forward to getting him in games, and I think he's going to be a good player for us.
It seems like this team has some pretty good depth. I mean, you look at Nick McCarchuk coming off the bench, and some of the other guys that you've been able to get some quality minutes and some quality time from off the bench.
Yeah, Nick has been great. His dad was a college coach. His granddad was a college coach. So you can tell he understands the game, and most importantly, he understands how to sort of operate on a day-to-day basis. I mean, he shows up to practice. He knows what we're trying to accomplish. He's into it. He's in tune with everything that we're trying to do. He understands, everything that, if I'm talking to one guy, he's listening, and he's almost doing a lot of what Saeed's been doing and helping guys, and even though he's a freshman, he really understands the game, and he's been very vocal, and so I mean, that's why he's on the court. He's just in tune to everything that we're doing. He's not as athletic as Charlie, but mentally he's similar. So that that's been helpful, and I was glad that actually James Washington gave us. He's had really good practices since he came back from the break. Mm-hmm. So throwing him in there, and he gave us really good minutes last night, offensively and defensively. So hopefully he continues along those lines, because we can use him. If he plays the way he did last night.
And we'll see how everything continues evolving for the Eagles as we lead up to the Friday game at Alumni Hall against Navy. Time for our first time out. When we continue, Senior Associate Athletics Director Athena Argyropoulos joins the conversation on AU Hoop Talk.
In the Patriot League, our playbooks look a little different. Here, we play to win on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. A competitive athletic experience with high academic standards. Today's scholar athlete, tomorrow's leaders. That's the Patriot League.
Welcome to our sleepy little college town. You may have heard of us. Here we stand up for causes as naturally as we sit down for classes. We believe that knowledge, understanding, and discovery will make the world a better place, and that our contributions are only limited by our imaginations. Words, medals, and degrees don't make us who we are. Meaningful change does.
We are American.
And there's nothing we would rather be.
Welcome back to AU Hoop Talk, as we're now joined by Athena Argyropoulos, a familiar face around Bender Arena, Senior Associate Athletics Director and Senior Women's Administrator. So first of all, thanks for taking some time and joining the show.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Let's jump into what that role means.
Well, what it doesn't mean is that I'm a senior. But I am a senior. Now, what does it mean? It means that I'm part of senior leadership of the athletic department administration. As the senior woman administrator, I am pretty much the senior female on staff who is responsible for maintaining Title IX equities for both the men and the women, and just making sure that everybody in the department is treated equitably.
Now, when you look at basketball, one of your focuses is basketball, both the men's
Yes,
and the women's
men's and
side,
women, right.
as administrative oversight. So what does that mean? What is your association with both programs?
Well, I supervise both, okay, the men's, obviously, and the women's program. And I work directly with both of the head coaches and their staffs and their student athletes, just making sure that they all have equal opportunities to be successful in the classroom, on the court, traveling, uniforms, meals, the same kind of treatment with the same kind of opportunities. Budgets obviously are a little bit different, but in terms of scholarships, they're treated equitably and yes, that word, equally. But they have the same opportunities available to them. Obviously, the men have a little bit different level of funding because their ability to go out and play these guarantee games. So those guarantee games obviously help the whole athletic department, including women's basketball, but it also helps the men's program to be able to have opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have. For instance, this past year, they went to Australia and did a foreign tour. We haven't done one, I believe it's been 5 or 6 years. So that, Mike played some tough games, but he was able to reap the rewards of going to Australia. And I was able to travel with the team.
I was going to say, you got a chance to go too.
I did. Next time I'll pick a closer country because that was a brutal trip. That was really, really hard. But what a beautiful country. But the team had an incredible experience. They really, really did. They enjoyed it. It was a good opportunity for them to bond. Seeing as we're freshman heavy, it gave them an opportunity to get to know each other, get to play some ball with each other, have fun where it didn't really matter, and just experience each other.
Now, basketball has been a passion of yours for
Yes,
years.
yes.
And obviously, we talk about your oversight of
Yeah.
the teams now. But you were a official
I
for
was.
almost 20 years.
Correct.
In the NCAA Division I
Yes.
for women's.
Yes.
What do you take away from that? What is there? Is there a specific game that you remember or that you go back to during your time as an official that you're like, wow, that was pretty amazing that I got a chance to do that?
I would say overall my career was incredible. I had opportunities to work all the major conferences up and down the East Coast. Probably the most, though, incredible experience was getting involved with USA Basketball. Colorado Springs, I went out and I did the tryouts for the Olympic team, the Jones Cup team, a number of teams of our traveling teams that represent our nation. And it culminated in an opportunity to referee the first round game in the 1996 Olympics. It was an exhibition, and I had USA versus China. And the coaches for USA were Gino Auriemma and then Pat Summitt. And having them on the sideline together, laughing with each other, as opposed to yelling at each other from opposing benches, which I also had that opportunity to referee, was really, it just goes to show you that sport, more than anything, brings people together. And I think that for me was an incredible experience, just traveling the country, seeing the grassroots of basketball, and seeing the culmination of both men's and women's. What do I love? I wish I could still referee. I had too many injuries, so I decided to hang up my whistle. But it really taught me the game. It also exposed me to coaches. And our women's head coach, Megan Jebbia, I officiated her as a player, but then got to know her as a coach at 2 different institutions. And when our position opened, I called her and said, Megan, and the second try she came. So now she's been here going on, this is her 5th season. So far doing really well, but also she's just been a great addition to our department. And Mike also, I was able to work with him under Jeff Jones' leadership. So when Jeff left and Billy was hired as the AD, I told Billy, hey, I've got somebody for you. So I was able to kind of, I wouldn't say persuade him, he was won over by Mike also. But I was able to have at least some coaches in my pocket. And interestingly enough, a lot of coaches called me about both of our jobs. On the women's side, it was interesting because I refereed them, some of which I threw out of games, okay? And now they're calling me for a job. That was hysterical. And I told them, I said, see, you never know what side of the phone a referee is going to be on because of the other hats that we wear at our day jobs.
I can't think
Yeah.
you'd be a very easy/fun referee to deal with. I got to think you were
Really?
very whooshed.
No,
No?
I like to have fun, man. I like to jaw a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I had pretty good relationships with most of the coaches, and yes, it comes down to if it's a rule, it's a rule, and I'm not going to break it. But we're all in this to have a good time.
Yeah.
The coaches are in it because they love it, they're passionate about it. The players are in it, well, for a number of different reasons, but to get their education. But they also have a passion for the game. And as an official, I played the game. I wanted to give back to the game. So I thought that's a perfect opportunity to give back to the game is referee it. And it put a lot of money in my pocket too.
That's good. That's good.
But it was fun. It was another sport for me to play.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot. You talk about rules. Is
Yeah.
there a rule that you really don't like? Is there a rule that you go,
Oh, geez,
do
yes.
you really, what's one? We won't get into a bunch. What's one? What's your least favorite rule?
Well, I don't know if you could say my least favorite. I don't like what they're doing to the game now. They're putting too many rule changes into the game every year. So the game continues to change based upon the rules that they implement. The restricted area, the area under the basket that they call the RA, I don't like that rule. I don't think if you're playing good defense and you take a charge, you take a charge. We had this conversation last night. If you're in the RA and it's an automatic block, which is unfortunate because there's still plenty of room to play defense in front of the basket. So that is a rule that they've implemented since I've come out of the game that I don't particularly care for. Yeah.
Let's rewind. Let's reminisce a little bit. Let's look back 10 years. We're celebrating the first
believe it's 10
NCAA
years.
tournament
Yeah.
birth for the Eagles. What did that mean for you? Because that had to have been special for
yeah.
you, both because of the closeness
Right.
as an administrator, but also as an alum.
As an alum. It meant more to me as an alum. I remember actually the whole time leading up to it, we were in the championship game numerous times. We had Holy Cross, basically, was our nemesis. Ralph Willard at Holy Cross, phenomenal coach. And I can't tell you how many times we lost. So every time they came back into this gym, it was like, oh my God, here we go again. Finally that year, we meet them in the quarterfinals, okay? That game was unbelievable. You could literally cut the tension with a knife in the arena. That's how thick it was, and that's how everybody felt because we do have some loyal fans who have been watching this matchup now since we entered the league, and we're going down to the wire, and we win. And the place erupted. It was like winning the championship because we had had that matchup for so many years, and we just kept coming out on losing in that championship game or in the game leading up to the championship. So after that, I was like, we've won. I don't care what we do now. We beat Holy Cross. Then obviously we played Army. We beat Army, and then came Colgate. And when we won that game, and that we won pretty handedly, actually. I think it was like 10 or 12 point spread. I couldn't stop the tears. It just was an emotional breakdown because I'd been waiting for this for so many years as a student athlete, as an alum, and now as somebody in the athletic department. I was so happy that I got to witness it. And it's funny because I did break down. I couldn't help it. Tears started flooding. Nick Hendra, who had a big shot in the game, came over to me. Now I'm on the court standing now, hugged me, and said, "Athena, it's going to be okay." And I was like, oh my God, of course it's going to be okay. So it was incredible. And then just the whole, the crowd coming onto the court, the JJ up on the ladder, cutting the net down. The first time you experience that is more incredible than any other time you experience it.
What did Jeff mean to the program in advancing it that far and getting you to that point?
Obviously a lot. We had success with other coaches. We were in the Colonial, which was a really, really challenging conference. We had good coaches. We had great athletes. But we didn't have what some of the other schools had in terms of budget and anyway, they hired Jeff, and obviously he came to us with a lot of experience and success, and he just ran a really tight ship. He was able to pull together a good staff, pull together a great group of young men who really, they wanted to win. I mean, they were sick and tired of getting to the championship game, being the Patriot League regular season champs, and then not getting to the dance. So I think it was a buildup of JJ preparing the team. This is what it's going to be like. This is what you need to do. He was a strict disciplinarian. He made sure his team was prepared in the classroom, on the court. When they traveled, I mean, we never ever had any issues with that team, really.
Now we've talked about basketball, and of course this show is a focus on basketball, but
Right.
field hockey is another sport that's very
Yeah.
close to your heart. You played field
Played
hockey.
field hockey,
And field hockey just celebrated the 50th year of Title IX.
Yes.
What does that mean to you? What does the sport mean to you?
The celebration for me was pretty impressive because I was actually on the cusp of Title IX. 1972, I started here in 1974, and I remember the transition during my 4 years here of things that the women's teams would get. Not to say we didn't get anything on field hockey, but we didn't get that much on field hockey. We had to supply our own cleats, our own sticks. In basketball, though, I got my first pair of Chuck Taylors. And I thought that was so cool. We got shoes. The guys got shoes. We got shoes. So there were little things like that, which I share with our female teams now, that this is not always how it's been. We had to work hard to get where we are now, to get treated equitably, to get treated the same. And for me, my college roommate was the first scholarship field hockey player. And I felt bad for her because she had to do more than just play, okay? She had to do coach's errands. She had to work in the office. She really had to work for her scholarship. And it was an athletic scholarship. It wasn't, it was for her performance on the field. And I doubt that many of the guys had to go work in the coach's office. In fact, I know for a fact they didn't. So, but that's okay. I mean, that's how you get to where you want to be. So it was an awesome experience.
Well, thanks for taking some time today and going down memory lane. I'm sure there's still many more memories still to be made here.
Let's hope so.
Right.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Athena.
Appreciate it.
Athena Argyropoulos right there. When we continue, Mike Brennan rejoins us as we look forward to the game at Navy.
In the Patriot League, our playbooks look a little different. Here, we play to win on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. A competitive athletic experience with high academic standards. Today's scholar athlete, tomorrow's leaders. That's the Patriot League.
Welcome to our sleepy little college town. You may have heard of us. Here we stand up for causes as naturally as we sit down for classes. We believe that knowledge, understanding, and discovery will make the world a better place, and that our contributions are only limited by our imaginations. Words, medals, and degrees don't make us who we are. Meaningful change does.
We are American.
And there's nothing we would rather be.
Welcome back into the show, and let's get ready for Navy, the game on Friday, road game over in Annapolis at Alumni Hall. And for you, when you look at the scheduling and the fact that it's a Tuesday-Friday situation, how does that affect practices and sort of getting the guys in the rhythm of not really what you normally see in the Patriot League?
Yeah, especially like Sam's playing a ton of minutes as a freshman, so he's sort of worn out physically. So it's just 2 days to prepare. 2 days play, 2 days play, 2 days play. So you got to give them some rest at some point. So a lot of times it just gives you essentially a day and a half to prepare for something completely new and different, which is the case with Navy, especially. Just they're like a relentless, an older team that plays really, really hard, and they're just relentless in their execution and their energy on offense and defense. And it's not just a straightforward man-to-man game. So it's going to be a difficult game for the younger guys, just because it's reading and reacting against something that they're not completely familiar with. But our young guys can make shots, so hopefully they'll be able to do that.
Now Navy's coming off a win over Lehigh, and George Kieran, one of their juniors, had a career high 27 points in that one. So he's a handful to deal with.
Yeah, now he can shoot, he can score, and he's got the Navy mindset. Whatever it is that they're doing. I mean, he goes after every single rebound. You leave him open for a split second, it's going in. So he's playing well, and their whole team has been playing well all year long. I mean, they've been winning games, and that comes with having guys that have been around and sort of understanding what you're trying to do, what your team sort of culture is, what your offense is, what your defense is. So it'll be a great test for us, and hopefully we keep learning from watching these older teams that how in tune they are offensively and defensively with whatever it is that they're trying to do on every single possession. I think we're getting there, but just getting over the hump and closing out a game. I think it'll be important for our guys just to give them the confidence to know that they can sort of cross that hurdle.
Hassan Abdullah, another junior, is another guy that's tough because he has such quick hands. He's in the top 10 in the NCAA in steals.
Yeah. Again, he's relentless. He's going after steals, and he's just active in their zone. And he does a really good job of sort of running the show for them. No one want to drive, no one want to pass, no one want to knock down an open three. But again, it's more the mindset of just competing on every single play. So got our hands full again, but we'll see what we can do.
And you guys have had pretty good success at Alumni Hall, winning the last couple times that you've played over there. It's a tough place to play, but you guys have come away with W's.
Yeah. And we've made shots. We've made shots against them, against their zone. We've got them out of their zone by making shots, and then they go to man, and we feel a little more comfortable. So hopefully we can sort of duplicate the efforts that we've had there.
Yeah, they had a tough zone against Lehigh, so we'll see if you guys can give them a little bit of heck over there at Alumni Hall. All right, that will do it for this edition of AU Hoop Talk. After the game on Friday, the Eagles return home for a game on Monday against Army West Point. That'll do it. For Coach, I'm Dan. Have a good day, everybody.